renaming once it's already done is so finicky with this thing. But yeah, for some reason you have to get that right. So let me bring this down to my second monitor, and I'll just read it aloud. All right. So we created a move. We need to create a move forward. So we go to the scripts, create a new C sharp, and we name it move forward, capital MOVE, forward. All right. And go ahead, create it. And then we see, there we go. Okay. And declare. Okay. So now we have to bring up Visual Studio. This is where I have mine connected to because that's what they told me to. Hey. So, um, all right. So we have to put a speed. Uh, we have to make a speed qualifier. So make it public so it can be seen. Public. It's a float, right? I think everything is a float. Speed is equal to 40.f. Okay, then we go to the update. Um, I think, alright, so this is just adding a vector 3. Oops, sorry. Spilled a little bit of my water for some reason. Okay, alright, so let's type transform dot capital T translate vector 3. Interesting, it doesn't come up. Dot forward. Multiplied by time dot delta time. Yeah. Oops. Multiplied by, of course, speed. And close off that. And save it. Make sure we got greens. Looks good. All right. All right. Let's save. So let's do a test. You know what? We should probably plug it into the food because that's the whole point. So here you go. Boop. And let's make sure that it has it. Yep. There it is. And now let's test it. And it should move forward. And it does. A little super fast for me. Wow. Like a bullet. That's 40 speed? Okay. It's done. Saves our work. Alright. We should probably be. Let's match the. Let's match the. There we go. So, oops. There we go. There we go. Much better. All right. So yes, we have gotten the object to move forward. Uh, we got it moving at the speed of 40. Um, we got the farmer to move. All right. Let's move on to the next step. 1 second. Let me mark that as completed. Get my. All right. Get my completion. What happened? Hold on. Let me set it. Oh dear. Am I logged out? What is happening? Oh, okay. Now log back in. My step is completed. Okay. Okay. We're good. Yeah, I don't want to go through all of this and not get my. Okay. 2. Make the projectile into a prefab. Now that our projectile has the behavior we want, we need to make it into a prefab so it can be reused anywhere and anytime. Um, uh, anytime with all of its behaviors included. Okay, so I'm trying to. I guess this is where we find out about prefabs. Okay, here we go. Let's learn a thing or two about a prefab.
All right, so we make it to our pizza can fly all the way off into the distance. There it goes. Can we chase it down? Just keeps going on and on forever and ever, all the way till it reaches the ends of the earth. So we're going to stop play mode. Now, if we focus back on our main characters here, we'll just do a top-down view for now. Now, our little piece of pizza has the behavior that we want it to have, and now we need to create something called a prefab so that we can keep reusing it anytime, anywhere, and it will always be the exact same and it'll have everything that it should be doing. In order to do that, we're actually going to create another folder in our assets. Right click on assets, create a folder, and we're going to name this prefabs. Now, what we're going to do is in our prefabs folder, we're actually going to drag now our food from our hierarchy and drop it into the prefabs folder. So now what it's asking is if we would like to create an original or a new variant of this prefab. Now, a prefab is a prefabricated version of the object that you're using. So, for example, because we want to reuse this piece of pizza, we make a prefab so that we can keep reusing the pizza over and over again, and it will always have the move forward script applied to it. Because we change the size of this pizza, it'll always be this size whenever we bring it from our projects into our project hierarchy. Now, specifically with our original prefab, we're making a brand new prefab versus a prefab variant where, say, we had a bunch of different kinds of pizzas, but they all, are generally a pizza. Then we would start with a pizza, and then maybe one of the variants has pepperonis on it, one of the variants has vegetables on it, so on and so forth. So, variants are really useful if you have a basic prefab that you're going to use, but we're just going to make our own prefab right now. So now that you have an original prefab, you can actually see it looks very similar to some of the other assets that we have. So if we take a look at the humans, you can see they all have this blue cube. So that blue cube actually denotes that these are also prefabs too. For our sake, since we made a new prefab, we added it to our prefabs folder. So in fact, we have this piece of pizza in the scene. And if we press play, you can see that our piece of pizza flies off into the distance, just like it did before. And in fact, we can actually drag our prefabs into our scene, and they'll always have the same characteristics too. So they have that move forward script that actually makes them fly off into the distance. There they go, never to be seen again. So the way that we'll actually make these pieces of pizza spawn is actually from the player itself. So using our player controller, we can actually throw some of these pizzas by ourselves. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to make sure that the player always has a reference to that piece of pizza. So we're actually going to go into our player controller class and we'll create a new variable. So this will be a public, so that way we can see it and our class can see it. In this case, it'll be a game object, since instead of a value that we're storing, like a float or an integer, we'll actually be storing objects themselves. And then we'll just name this projectile prefab, so that way we know that it's a prefab that we're going to be throwing later. Now if we save and we hop back into Unity, now in Unity, when we click on our player, you'll see that under the player controller script, there's now an empty projectile prefab, and there's no game object attached to it. Now, what you want to make sure you do is drag over your food prefab into that variable. So then that way it always creates a new food prefab from your prefabs. If you were to take the food that's in your project hierarchy, it would actually constantly be trying to create that piece of food that's already in your scene, and so you can actually break stuff later as you try to create more pieces of pizza. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into your assets, you're going to create a prefabs folder, drag your piece of pizza down into the prefabs folder so you can create an original prefab. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go into your IDE, you're going to create a new variable, a public game object projectile prefab, and then you're going to save your script. And then in Unity, you're going to open up your player so that you can see all of the components in the inspector. And you're going to drag a piece of food that you made from your prefab, drag it out of the prefabs folder and into the projectile prefab variable slot right here. Now it's your turn.
Okay, I hope I got that. Okay, this one's a little. All right, let's do it. First let's create the prefab folder. Okay. Um. Oh, let me. Sorry. Bring that down. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Folder. Okay. Sorry, messed that one up. So let's delete that. Sorry. Yes. Sorry. The assets. Create new folder. Um. E. Okay. Yeah, it's not supposed to be. hold on. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. Hold on, let me go back. Oh, it is. Okay.